Hey, welcome or welcome back. We all played Doom, but while you were sailor strafing on Mars for the 10,000th time, an entire universe of weird, wonderful and criminally overlooked DOS games was collecting dust on the shelf. And today I'm gonna tell you about games you actually need to play before they disappear forever. So let's jump right in. Let's start with something that was way ahead of its time. This is Sword of the Samurai by Microprose. Now, usually when you think of samurai game, you think of hacking and slashing. And yeah, there is plenty of that here, side-scrolling duels, top-down skirmishes, the likes, but that is only half of the story. Sword of the Samurai is basically a samurai simulator. You aren't just fighting, you're climbing the social ladder of feudal Japan. You have to manage land, recruit armies and, I'm not even kidding here, perform ritual tea ceremonies to impress your rivals. It's like The Sims, only with katanas, tactical battles and political intrigue. Sword of the Samurai seamlessly blends genres. 1 minute you're playing a strategy game, the next an action RPG and then a fighting title. The goal is to replace Oda Nobunaga and unite Japan under your rule. But the coolest mechanic is the legacy system. If you die or get too old, your son takes over, inheriting your honor and stats. It's brilliant, ambitious, and honestly, it did the honor system better than most modern games do today. Next up, we have the black sheep of the Wolfenstein 3D engine family, Corridor 7 Alien Invasion. While everyone was losing their minds over Doom, Capstone released this sci-fi horror shooter. You're a Special Forces agent sent into a top-secret research facility where, surprise surprise, in a tale as old as time in video game design, scientists opened an interdimensional portal called Vortex after messing with an alien artifact from Mars. And of course a bunch of hostile aliens came pouring through. If you were to count how many times this exact setup happened in video games, you wouldn't have enough fingers. Or is it just me, still using fingers to count? Corridor 7 is not just a Wolf 3D reskin, it actually pushed the engine harder than most of its peers. It added proximity mines, infrared and night vision visors for dark levels and transparent glass textures, which back in 1994 felt like sorcery for this aging tech. It was also infamous for its difficulty. Aliens didn't politely wait around, they spawned aggressively and kept you on the edge. If you want that pure, 90s maze shooter anxiety without the polish of its software, Corridor 7 is your jam. Just don't expect the level design to make much sense. Okay, I think it's time for a small dose of adrenaline. Have a nice day. And no, not you, it's actually the title. Come to think of it, you have it too. A day. Nice one, that is. Nobody ever really nailed down what N.I.C.E stands for, although there were guesses like Nitro Injection Car Enterprises, but who cares? You're here for the chaos and not well thought out acronyms. This is a racing game where you bolt guns onto futuristic cars and hurl yourself through loops and corkscrews at breakneck speed, turning the track into a war zone. The physics is what made Have a Nice Day special, floaty, arcadey and gloriously unpredictable. And if that sounds like complaints, they're not. I mean, it's fun in the best kind of Hot Wheels gone rogue way. Tracks are narrow, packed with jumps, vertical loops and corkscrews that make you feel like you're racing inside a toy set designed by a mad scientist. It's not a simulation, it's a demolition derby with a finish line. Perfect for those moments when you just want to hold the forward key and watch the world burn in techno-fueled mayhem. And now for one of the overlooked RPG heavy hitters. Amberstar is a German RPG battalion software and it's massive. Also fun. Let's not forget about fun. That's kinda important too. You start off at your parents' grave and get swept up in a quest to stop a powerful demon lord. That lord is Starboss, the god of chaos, who was banished to Larimer's third moon 1,000 years ago by 12 magicians wielding the Amberstar talisman. Now, the Black Sorcerer Marmion is performing a ritual to free him, and your mission is to reunite the 13 scattered fragments of the Amberstar before Tarboss can return and destroy the world. Amberstar uses a hybrid view, top-down for the world map and first-person grid-based movement for dungeons and cities. It's not the first time we've seen it, but it was surprisingly well made for 1992. One of the best features of Amberstar is definitely its atmosphere. Talion was famous for pushing the musical capabilities of the era, and the soundtrack here is the best example of that, moody and fantastic. It's also a part of a trilogy that was never fully finished, but Amberstar stands on its own as a deep, stat-heavy RPG that respects your intelligence. It doesn't hold your hand, it hands you a sword and pushes you into a dungeon to deal with it. If Descent and Doom had an accidental baby, and then abandoned that baby in an asteroid field, because Descent would not want to keep it claiming it's not Doom that was the father, and that she had no money or will to support it, then that said abandoned baby would become Radix Beyond the Void. Radix is a 2.5D shooter where you pilot an interdimensional starfighter through tight corridors. But unlike Descent, where you can hover and spin until you throw up, Radix is all about speed. You are constantly pushed forward, which changes the feel of gameplay completely. The backdrop, while pretty generic, is rather fun. In the year 2147, humanity's colony ship was attacked by aliens emerging from the void, and you're sent in as a lone Radix pilot to infiltrate the bases and save the survivors. You're tearing through these alien biomechanical tunnels and blasting everything with some genuinely satisfying weapons. It also supported sloped floors in the engine, which was a huge technical flex back in 1995, even if it's something that you give no second thought today. It's a mindless explosive fun that makes you feel like an ace pilot without requiring a flight stick. Here's a weird one, Eternam. It's a mix of third-person graphic adventure with first-person 3D travel sections intertwined with plenty of cartoon animations. You play as Don Jones, a marshal of the United Forces of Orion who takes a vacation on the galaxy's best and most luxurious planet-sized fun park, Eternam. The twist? Your arch-nemesis, Mikhail Nuke, has taken over the park and it's all a trap. Dum-de-dum! I should have really edited in some kind of a menacing sounding drums and maniacal laugh here. Eternam is a comedy adventure that feels like a fever dream. The navigation is first-person 3D, which looks crunchy by today's standards, but the interactions are these beautifully animated 2D cartoon vignettes that add charm to the story. Eternam was one of the earliest games to really lean into the CD-ROM format for voice acting and cutscenes. The dialogue is self-aware, tongue-in-cheek peppered with parodies and absurd jokes that keep it light-hearted, breaking the fourth wall constantly and offering quite a few chuckles. It's basically a sitcom, only trapped inside a DOS game. Visuals of 1996 games were in a weird place. Some titles went all in on full 3D, others desperately tried to stick to tried and tested 2D solutions, and the even different ones were stuck somewhere in between, in the magical realm of 2.5D, where parts of their design were futuristic while the rest bungled either voxels or sprites. Sprites everywhere. Amok is the poster child for that weird time, a voxel showcase that sat right between the old sprite world and the polygonal future. You pilot a mech called Slumber, best name ever by the way, working for a mercenary group. In fact, the bureau that you work for sends you to sabotage both sides of the fragile peace, making sure that each faction blames the other so the war never truly ends. The gimmick here is the engine. It uses the aforementioned voxel technology, and instead of polygons, everything is built out of tiny 3D pixels. This allows for destructible environments and really smooth, organic looking at the time terrain. Because Amok looked like nothing else at the time, the voxel graphics gave it this hazy alien aesthetic that polygons just couldn't pull off. And the gameplay, despite being rather simple, go here, shoot that and whatnot, was quite fun. Especially that watching the ground deform and the buildings crumble as you stomp through them was oddly satisfying. After all that shooting, killing and demolitions, it's time for a video game palette cleanser. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Trugg. If you ever played Boulder Dash, you know the drill, cause it's basically the same game, only dressed up in 256 color DOS graphics and with a set of its own unique levels. You control your little digger, you burrow through dirt, you collect gems, and you try not to let rocks crash down on your head while gunning for the exit. it's just pure, unadulterated puzzle design. It starts easy, but by the later levels it turns into a Rube Goldberg machine of explosives, conveyor belts and lasers that just wait for you to make a single wrong step. It's not flashy, it doesn't have a deep story, but it has that just one more level addiction factor that will ruin your sleep schedule. Okay, buckle up, because this one is bizarre. Whale's Voyage. And no, it's not about marine biology. It's a sci-fi RPG with trading elements. So you know, what some of us like the most. You start by scrapping together enough credits to buy a junky starter ship and try to survive. But the weirdness starts at the character creation. You don't roll dice, you literally splice DNA from parents to mutate your crew members, which is both unique and entertaining. Whale's Voyage is a Eurojunk masterpiece. It's a mix of trading simulation, first-person exploration and economic strategy. Is it polished? Hell no. Is it UI confusing beyond belief? Absolutely. But the sheer ambition of the game, managing the economy, the crew's genetics and the ship upgrades is truly fascinating. It's a game that begs you to break it. You know, min-maxing style. Before all those games based on comic books, like Arkham Asylum or Comic Zone, no idea why I've chosen the two being completely different, there was Noctropolis. You play as a lonely bookstore owner who gets sucked into the world of his favorite comic book hero. You have to become the superhero Darkseer and fight Rogue's gallery of villains. The city itself is trapped in eternal night under a volcanic ash cloud, and your arrival coincides with the mass breakout of Darkseer's deadliest foes. This is an adult adventure game, not in a pornographic way mind you, but in a dark, gritty, 90s Spawn or Watchmen kind of a way. It uses digitized actors in FMV cutscenes, which usually looks cheesy, but here it actually fits the comic book aesthetic perfectly. Its atmosphere is thick, and it captures that mid-90s edgy comic book vibe better than almost any other game. If you love dark deco visuals and solving murders, this is a hidden gem. Now here's a game that is seriously overlooked despite being one of the most ambitious fantasy adventures of its time. Dragonlore: The Legend Begins was Cryo's Interactive's attempt to fuse cinematic storytelling with first-person exploration, and while it didn't reach the mainstream heights, it carved out its own cult following. You play as Werner von Wallenroth, an orphan whose father was murdered by the Devil's Horseman Hagen von Yakanov. What a set of terrible names! When the hour of destiny arrives, Werner must step into a fractured kingdom, meet surreal characters and prove himself worthy of joining the Dragon Knights. To succeed, he must win the votes of existing knights, balancing paths of violence, wisdom or even bravery. The quest is equal parts personal revenge and epic struggle as he uncovers secrets, solve puzzles and face the looming threat of destruction. Dragonlore is a snapshot of mid-90s ambition. Lush pre-rendered graphics, atmospheric music and a world that feels alive even with its quirks. It's not a hardcore RPG, more of a narrative-driven adventure, but that just makes it more approachable. Yes, the navigation can feel clunky at times, and yes, some voice acting is delightfully cheesy, but that's part of the charm. If you want to experience Cryo's blueprint for cinematic adventures, or just see how fantasy storytelling was evolving on DOS, Dragonlore is worth your time.
Jaren has locked us out.
And finally, we have the game that shouldn't be on an overlooked list at all, but somehow it is. Lands of Lore: The Throne of Chaos. Made by Westwood Studios, the geniuses behind Command & Conquer series, this was their attempt to make the accessible dungeon crawler. And you know what? For the most part, they succeeded. The evil witch Scotia has acquired the Nether Mask, allowing her to shapeshift, and you have to stop her. Her dark army begins to spread across the Kingdom of Gladstone, forcing King Richard to send you on a quest to recover the Ruby of Truth, the only artifact that can expose her disguises and end her reign of chaos. So why would you want to play it today? Because it's one of the most polished RPGs of the DOS era, period. If you play the CD-ROM version, you get voice acting from Patrick Stewart. Yeah, the Captain Picard is narrating your adventure, which makes it instantly infinitely better. The art is vibrant, the UI is clean, and it doesn't require a degree in math or min-maxing frenzy to play. If you only play one game from this video, make it this one. So there you have it, 12 reasons to fire up DOSBox this weekend. From splicing DNA in space to tea ceremonies in feudal Japan, the DOS era was the wild west of creativity, and these are just some of the examples of what it had to offer. If you enjoyed the video, hit those like, sub and bell icons below, it helps more than you know. Thanks a lot for watching, take care of yourself, and I'll talk to you soon.